r/AskReddit. What mind-blowing, but simple, facts would satisfy a 4-year-old daughter's daily request for one fact before bedtime? The last one is absolutely mind-blowing. We have never thought about the majesty of playing cards like that before. Replies to this thread that provided links will all be in the description box. Be sure to check it out. Dogs can tell when you're coming home by how much of your scent is left in the house if you have a daily routine. A day on Venus takes longer to complete than a year on Venus. How? It simply takes longer for Venus to do one complete rotation around its own axis than it does for the planet to rotate around the Sun. Edit, from my memory I believe it's only like 10 to 15 days difference. But still an interesting fact. Another fun fact is aluminum used to be such a precious metal, and so expensive, that the top point of the Washington Monument is made of pure aluminum. At the time of construction, that aluminum would be about like capping it with platinum today. A Siamese cat's fur color is dependent on its body temperature. That's why the colder areas of the body such as the nose, paws, and tail are darker than the rest. Most elephants weigh less than a blue whale's tongue. From the time Pluto was discovered until the time it was demoted from planethood, it still hadn't made one complete revolution around the Sun. 73 years from 1933 to 2006 out of a 248-year orbit. This makes me sad. It hadn't even gotten one birthday. In Switzerland, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. If you have any, you have to have at least 2. They get lonely. Bees tell their friends about good nearby flowers by dancing. There's an island in Japan populated only by fluffy bunnies. The building in the world with the most toilets is Wembley Stadium. Cows get excited when they solve puzzles. The filling in a Kit Kat is broken up Kit Kats. One time a guy ate an aeroplane. It took him several years but he did it. The little jump guinea pigs do when they're happy is called popcorning. When a cat walks towards you with its tail up, that means it likes you and is excited to see you. Elephants have a noise that means there are bees here, let's leave immediately. They played golf on the moon one time. Pineapples are a collection of berries. Bananas are berries too. And they grow on banana plants, not banana trees. Horses are more closely related to rhinos than to deer. Additionally, horses have roughly a 350-degree field of vision around them, with one of their 2 blind spots being in the front. Horses can't see directly ahead for up to about 4 feet. When a bee is chosen to be the new queen, they are given a special type of honey that completely changes their bodies. Kind of like how a Pokemon evolves. Super simplified, but it's still pretty cool to think about. Beekeeper here. All eggs get Gelée Royale first, and after a while, I don't know the exact amount of days, the larvae of worker bees get pollen and nectar only. Because of that, their ovaries won't develop properly, which makes them infertile. Only queen bees get Gelée Royale through all stages of their development in the cell, which makes them fertile and significantly bigger. So, if the queen bee dies suddenly or gets too old, the worker bees start feeding the larvae with Gelée Royale to raise a new queen. When the first young queen hatches, she stings all the other developing queens while still in their cells. There can only be one. I believe beekeepers sometimes section some off, since queens are valuable. Of course, this may not be a child-appropriate fact. Wouldn't want to encourage sibling murder. Chocolate was once used as currency, by the Aztecs. More accurately, cacao beans were used. Worms have 5 hearts. The surface of Mars is covered in rust, making the planet appear red. The red food coloring, carmine, that's used in a lot of candy is made up of a kind of beetle. There's a train station in Japan that has a cat station master, currently Naitama. Cows have best friends and get stressed when separated. Apples float but pears sink. Apples float because they are 25% air. Wombat poop is cube-shaped. Hippopotamus milk is pink. Some fish cough. Don't eat too many carrots or your skin will turn orange. That happened to my own daughter. Some frogs will glow when they eat fireflies. Before 1913, parents could mail their kids to grandmas, through the postal service. Tigers have striped skin. Some badass tiger shaving scientist found this out. It takes a little over 8 minutes for the light from the sun to get to Earth. There are more stars than there are grains of sand on all the beaches in the world. Cows can walk upstairs, but they can't walk down. A polar bear's skin is black. And their hair isn't white but transparent and hollow. If the skin is black, and the hair is transparent, why are they white? Luminescence. The light hitting the hair scatters and makes it glow, basically. So ice bears are actually glowing bears. Mind blown. Birds poo and pee from the same hole at the same time. And the hole is called a cloaca. Billy goats wee on their heads to smell better for the lady goats. Humans are bioluminescent and glow in the dark, but the light that we emit is 1,000 times weaker than our human eyes are able to pick up. What animals have eyes sensitive enough to see us as glow in the dark? Vampire bats, up close, can see our arteries by infrared glow. To them, the arteries of large animals are easy to spot. They have a unique protein in their retina that is activated by infrared wavelength light let off by mammalian body temperature. Butterflies smell with their feet. Butterflies will also literally drink blood, sweat, and tears. The distance from your inner elbow to your wrist is the same as the length of your foot. This one is fun because it sounds insane. The forearm looks longer, but if you put your foot to your arm, you see that it's accurate. If you put both hands in front of you and write a word, your non-dominant hand will write an exact mirror of your dominant hand without you having to think about it. It will work with shapes too if she's too young to write words. Pufferfish are full of water, not air. Don't know if that's mind-blowing, but I learned that at the ripe old age of 38, it's logical when I think about it, but it never crossed my mind. Also, a spinning disc is going faster at the outer edge than in the middle. Rabbits usually sleep during the day, but they often sleep with their eyes open so you can't tell. If you look closely, sleeping bunnies don't twitch their noses. Pineapples used to be so expensive that people would rent them as a centerpiece for their party. Scotland's national animal is a unicorn. A single strand of spaghetti is a spaghetto. At birth, a baby panda is smaller than a mouse. Violin bows are usually made from horsehair. The color red doesn't make bulls angry, they are colorblind. Herring fish communicate with flatulence. If you heat up a magnet, it loses its magnetism. It snows metal on planet Venus. Garlic attracts leeches. In 1992, a shipping crate full of 28,000 rubber ducks fell off a ship. They kept washing up for years. The 28,000 rubber ducks were extensively used by scientists to gain knowledge about ocean currents, and you can get a bonus if you catch one and send it in with the location and time of the finding. Also, there is the term rubber ducking, which is used by programmers to help them find mistakes. They explain their problem to a rubber duck and by doing so often find a solution. Parrotfish are responsible for most of the sand in the world. They eat coral looking for the good stuff and spit out the chewed up pieces, which happens to now be sand. Hey, my big book of useless information may finally come in handy. The sleepiest mammals are armadillos, sloths, and opossums. They sleep roughly 80% of their lives. The jump rope dates back to around 400 years ago, when Egyptian children would jump over vines. People used to make little circuses with fleas. It started around 14th century Asia but peaked in popularity in 16th century Great Britain. Pennies were introduced in 1787, and more than 300 billion pennies have been made. Now there's about 150 billion pennies, enough to wrap around the earth 137 times. There are only about 40 1943 pennies, one sold for $112,500 in 1999. One of the founders of this coffee empire was a fan of the book Moby Dick, and wanted to name the company after the story's fabled ship Pequod, but they settled instead on naming the company after the ship's first mate, Starbuck. A horse with a horn is called a unicorn. A horse with wings is called a pegasus. A horse with a horn and wings is a pegacorn. As an extra bonus, Mandarin for zebra translates as ribbon horse. Similarly, giraffes are long-necked deer, and pandas are big bear cats. There was more time between the Stegosaurus and the Tyrannosaurus rex than between Tyrannosaurus rex and humans. Bunnies can't move their legs independently, which is why they can't walk, only hop. Giraffes have the same number of vertebrae in their neck as humans. If you accelerated constantly as fast as a dragster, it would take you 3 months to get to the speed of light. In a light spectrum, all colors combined equal white, while in art all colors combined equals black. The speed needed to break the sound barrier is lowest at sea level due to air density. 6-year-olds laugh an average of 300 times a day. Mint is good for repelling mice. Balls lose their bounce when stored in the freezer. Sharks don't blink. A snowflake takes around 2 hours to reach the ground. Clinophobia is the fear of going to bed. A woodpecker can peck 20 times per second. Camels have 3 eyelids. A new star is born in our galaxy every 18 days. Bats are more closely related to humans than they are to rats. Bats have webbed fingers which allow them to fly. The world's smallest bat is the size of a bumblebee. Not all bats come out at night, some bats come out during the daytime. Some bats only eat fruit. Some bats make their nest, according to gender. You'll have an all-male nest and an all-female nest with the babies. Baby bats are called pups. A single bat can eat half of their body weight, or up to 1,000 mosquitoes, a night. Last but not least, bats are awesome. You can always see your own nose, but your brain learns to filter it out. You can always feel your own tongue residing inside your mouth. The only thing you are able to see clear is the exact spot you're looking at. Your brain just fills in the rest. Oh, and the periphery of your vision is in black and white. Turtles breathe through their butts. Elephants are really good at swimming. There's been a few cases where ships carrying an elephant, as part of a circus act, for a zoo, etc., would sink far away from land, only for the elephant to just kind of show up on the shore several days later, little worse for wear. They use their trunks as snorkels. The alarm pheromone released by honeybees smells just like bananas. That's why banana-scented lotion and shampoo are bad ideas. When one bee stings, the others will sting the same spot. A female calf with a male twin is called a free martin. A hen will lay an egg every day or every other day but won't start sitting on them until she's laid enough. They all hatch 21 days after she starts incubating, and they'll peep to each other right before they hatch, and they'll all hatch together. Jellyfish and lobsters are immortal unless outside forces intervene. There are jellyfish that can revert to their neonatal form, and we're not, as far as I'm aware, certain of biological immortality of lobsters. What we do know is that they appear to be able to live a really long time with good health. We think that most lobsters' lifespans are really only limited by finding enough food and not being eaten. In France, it's still illegal to call your pig Napoleon. I found a list of good science facts for kids online. You can read more in the link in the description. A person's sneeze can travel at speeds of about 100 miles per hour. Imagine if your sneeze fueled your movement. Fleas can jump around 130 times their own height. So if a flea were a person 6 feet high, it can jump 780 feet high just like that. No superpowers needed. An electric eel can produce up to 650 volts of electricity. Touch it for the biggest shock of your life. A photon takes 40,000 years to travel from the core of the sun to the surface of the sun. But it takes just 8 minutes to travel from there to the Earth. The Earth is between 4 and 5 billion years old. It is the same age as the moon and the sun. Our planet is mostly made up of iron, carbon, and silicon, with a little bit of magnesium here and there. And you thought it was made up of people? It is the only planet in the solar system containing 21% oxygen in its atmosphere and water on its surface. The surface of the Earth is made of tectonic plates that float on a rocky mantle lying between the surface and the core, which makes it vulnerable to earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. There are about 8.7 million unique species living on the Earth. Of these, 2.2 million are in the oceans, and the rest on land. The average time it takes for plastic to decompose is 450 years. Glass takes 4,000 years. We cut down around 27,000 trees every day to make toilet paper. 97% of water on the planet is salty and not usable. 2% is frozen. That leaves us with just 1% of usable water. The meat industry contributes most to the increase in global warming every year. Deforestation is second. Around 68% plants are likely to become extinct. The population of the world is over 7 billion right now and is estimated to reach 8 billion by 2025. Sadly, 99% of all the species that ever existed on the planet are believed to have become extinct. If, today, you took off in a rocket that travels at 99% the speed of light and spent 10 years traveling in space at that same speed, when you get back to Earth it would be the year 2048. 10 years would have passed for you, but the Earth would have experienced 29 years. You just effectively time traveled 19 years into the future. The science behind it is called time dilation. A platypus lays eggs, and has milk, making it the only mammal that could in theory make its own custard. 1. Animals that lay eggs don't have belly buttons. 2. Slugs have 4 noses. 3. Camels have 3 eyelids. 4. Flamingos turn pink from eating shrimp. 5. Kangaroos cannot walk backward. 6. A hummingbird weighs less than a penny. 7. Broccoli is classified as both a vegetable and a flower. 8. The Hawaiian alphabet only has 12 letters. 9. Snails breathe through their foot. 10. If you keep a goldfish in a dark room, it will turn white. 11. Bullfrogs never sleep. 12. Elephants can't jump. 13. Pigs can get a sunburn. 14. Fish can drown. 15. The average American eats approximately 35,000 cookies in his/her life. 16. Only male turkeys gobble. 17. Penguins are the only birds that can both swim and not fly. 18. Male kangaroos are called boomers and females are called flyers. 19. Koalas sleep 22 hours a day. 20. Kangaroos can't smell. The pyramids were ancient when Cleopatra was around. There were woolly mammoths on the planet when the pyramids were being built. We are now further away from the first man going to space than the first man in space was to the first airplane. J.K. Rowling is richer than the Queen. Queen of England's personal net worth is about $520 million. J.K. Rowling's personal net worth is around $1 billion. The entirety of all the planets in the solar system can fit in between the Earth and the Moon. Sea otters hold hands when they sleep, and have a favorite rock to hold onto in a secret pouch. A blue whale's heart is as big as a Volkswagen Beetle. Some penguins propose to mates by bringing them rocks for a nest. Leave out the part about penguin prostitution, though, K? Rainbows are circles. The frequency of a cat's purr has been shown to improve bone density and strength. There are more trees on Earth than stars in the galaxy. Some galaxies technically are more than 5 times thick as they are wide due to black holes throwing stuff out of the center. One of the Aztecs or Incan, can't remember which, favorite drinks was basically hot cocoa with hot peppers. Oxford University in England is older than the Aztec Empire. Fire burns spherically in space, on the space station. The largest bone in the human body is the femur. It can support 30 times the weight of a person's body. Ounce for ounce, that's stronger than steel. Messages from the human brain travel along nerves at up to 200 miles an hour, 322 kilometers per hour. In an adult human, 25% of their bones are in the feet. The gluteus maximus is the body's largest muscle. A human's ears and nose never stop growing. There are more bacteria in a human mouth than there are people in the world. A human's little finger contributes over 50% of the hand strength. It would take someone typing 60 words per minute, 8 hours a day, around 50 years to type the human genome. If a human being's DNA were uncoiled, it would stretch 10 billion miles, from Earth to Pluto and back. Within 3 days of dying, the enzymes that digested a person's food will begin to digest that person's body. For an adult human, taking just one step uses up to 200 muscles. I'm a chemist. All the elements beyond barium are slightly radioactive. Boron is the only element that can have 3 bonds and a neutral charge. Elemental sodium spontaneously bursts into flames when exposed to air. Elemental lithium spontaneously bursts into flames when exposed to water. Gallium melts at body temperature, so if you hold it, it will turn into a liquid. Mercury is the only element that is a liquid at room temperature. Bismuth, like the stuff in Pepto-Bismol, undergoes a beautiful crystallization process to form a prism that looks like a rainbow when it cools. Most incandescent light bulbs are filled with a mixture of argon and nitrogen to prevent arcing between the wires. Polonium is the most poisonous element. 1 gram is enough to poison 10 million people. On Earth, helium is only produced as a byproduct of uranium decay. An earthworm can grow only so long. A well-fed adult will depend on what kind of worm it is, how many segments it has, how old it is and how well-fed it is. And Lumbricus terrestris will be from 90 to 300 millimeters. The largest earthworm ever found was in South Africa and measured 22 feet from its nose to the tip of its tail. In 1 acre of land, there can be more than 1 million earthworms. There are approximately 2,700 different kinds of earthworms. Baby worms are not born. They hatch from cocoons smaller than a grain of rice. The Australian Gippsland earthworm grows to 12 feet long and can weigh 1/2 pounds. If she stood on a boat floating over the deepest part of the ocean, the passenger jets she sees as dots in the sky are closer to her than the bottom of the ocean. The moon's diameter is 400 times smaller than the sun's. However, the Sun is 400 times further away. This is why we can have both solar and lunar total eclipses. About 1 million people die from mosquito bites every year. That's about 100 per hour. It took humanity 4 times longer to switch from copper swords to steel swords than it took us to switch from steel swords to nuclear bombs. If you live in the USA, you have better odds of dating Taylor Swift than dying of Ebola or bird flu combined. If you scale the Sun down to the size of a white blood cell, the Milky Way would be the size of the continental United States. Pineapples take 2 years to grow. The cigarette lighter was invented before the match. Or the cigarette. You could move all the planets of our solar system in between the Earth and our moon, and still have space left over. When humans started farming, blue-eyed humans didn't exist. Betty White is older than sliced bread. The UK Dyslexia Association headquarters is located in Reading, Berkshire, UK. Sharks predate trees. Gary Newman is older than Gary Oldman by about 2 weeks. Adwaita, a giant tortoise who died in 2006, was born before the United States existed in 1750. There was a clam who also died in 2006 that was born in 1499. That was before Brazil was discovered by the Europeans. The Aztec Empire lasted less than 100 years. The U.S. Navy has the second largest air force in the world. The U.S. Army has the third. Disney World is the second largest buyer and importer of explosives in the USA. If you choose to not have children, you're the first person in your direct line of ancestry to make this choice since the first organism to exist on Earth, about 4 billion years ago. Neutron stars have such strong gravity that if you dropped a marshmallow from 1 inch away, it would hit the surface with the same amount of force as a 3-megaton nuclear bomb going off. France was still using the guillotine when Star Wars Episode IV, A New Hope came out. The Holy Roman Empire still existed when the United States was founded. Graham crackers were invented to be terrible. The person who invented them believed that pleasure from food was akin to sinfulness. The goal of golf is to play the least golf. There are more tigers in Texas than there are in the wild. There is, on average, a supernova explosion every 50 years in the Milky Way. On average, there are 30 every second in the observable universe. Maine is the closest U.S. state to Africa. Elephants are usually right or left-tusked, the same way humans are right or left-handed. The first American penny was designed by Benjamin Franklin and bore the motto "Mind your business." John Quincy Adams had a pet alligator that he kept in a White House bathroom. New Zealand has an official wizard. A group of ferrets is called a business. I aspire to be a small business owner someday. Every cell in the human body regenerates every 7 years. This means that every 7 years, our consciousness inhabits an entirely different physical form. Around 3% of Antarctica's glacial ice is made up of penguin urine. That would be 10 to the power of 18 liters of penguin pee. There are 10 million penguins in Antarctica. The first penguins evolved 40 million years ago. If the population stayed constant, that means the average penguin has to pee about 5 liters, or a bit over a gallon, every day for that to be true. Emperor penguins apparently eat about 6 kilos every day, so, wow, the numbers actually work out quite well. This made me want to look up what penguins drink. They can drink salt water and they have glands around their eyes that remove excess salt from the blood. The resulting super salty fluid is excreted through the nasal passages. Charlie Chaplin lost a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest. We put man on the moon before we put wheels on a suitcase. The average cloud weighs about 1.1 million pounds. There are enough bourbon reserves in Kentucky to kill the entire population of the United States 7 times over. Japanese bees can cook Japanese wasps by beating their wings really fast. They make hot bee balls. It is impossible for most people to lick their own elbow. A crocodile cannot stick its tongue out. A shrimp's heart is in its head. It is physically impossible for pigs to look up into the sky. The sixth sheep sick is believed to be the toughest tongue twister in the English language. If you sneeze too hard, you could fracture a rib. Wearing headphones for just an hour could increase the bacteria in your ear by 700 times. Some lipsticks contain fish scales. Cat urine glows under a black light. Like fingerprints, everyone's tongue print is different. Rubber bands last longer when refrigerated. There are 293 ways to make change for $1. The average person's left hand does 56% of the typing, when using the proper position of the hands on the keyboard. A shark is the only known fish that can blink with both eyes. Dreamt is the only English word that ends in the letters mount. Almonds are a member of the peach family. Maine is the only state that has a one-syllable name. There are only 4 words in the English language which end in douse: tremendous, horrendous, stupendous, and hazardous. Los Angeles' full name is El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Angeles de Porciuncula. A cat has 32 muscles in each ear. An ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain. Tigers have striped skin, not just striped fur. In many advertisements, the time displayed on a watch is 10:10. The characters Bert and Ernie on Sesame Street were named after Bert the cop and Ernie the taxi driver in Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life. A dime has 118 ridges around the edge. The giant squid has the largest eyes in the world. Most people fall asleep in 7 minutes. Stewardesses is the longest word that is typed with only the left hand. My time to shine. 1. Did you know that elephant milk can kill a human? 2. Most American car horns are in the key of F. 3. Did you know that lemons are man-made? It is a combination of a bitter orange and a citron. 4. Did you know that people made something called a grapple and apple with the taste of grapes? It's actually really good. 5. Did you know that bananas used to be much like a plantain and that selective breeding made bananas as we know them today? 6. Did you know that watermelons used to also be different? There used to be what I would call chambers of the good parts and mostly the light green part. Also, due to selective breeding they are now comprised of mainly flesh. 7. A whale's penis is called a dork. 8. A jiffy is an actual thing and it's 1/1000th of a second. 9. It is illegal to hunt camels in the state of Arizona. 10. A pregnant goldfish is called a twit. 11. Women blink twice as much as men. 12. Every year 11,000 Americans injure themselves trying out new sexual positions. Don't tell her this. 13. Emus and kangaroos cannot walk backwards, and are on the Australian coat of arms for that reason. There are more ways to arrange a deck of cards than there are stars in our galaxy. The number of possible permutations of 52 cards is 52 exclamation. I think the exclamation mark was chosen as the symbol for the factorial operator to highlight the fact that this function produces surprisingly large numbers in a very short time. If you have an old school pocket calculator, the kind that maxes out at 99,999,999, and attempt to calculate the factorial of any number greater than 11 results only in the none too helpful value of error. So if 12 exclamation will break a typical calculator, how large is 52 exclamation? 52 exclamation is the number of different ways you can arrange a single deck of cards. You can visualize this by constructing a randomly generated shuffle of the deck. Start with all the cards in one pile. Randomly select one of the 52 cards to be in position 1. Next, randomly select one of the remaining 51 cards for position 2, then one of the remaining 50 for position 3, and so on. Hence, the total number of ways you could arrange the cards is 52 times 51 times 50, all the way to 1 or 52 exclamation. Here's what that looks like: 81 vigintillion 658 vigintillion 175 novem decillion 170 octodecillion 943 septendecillion 878 sexdecillion 571 quindecillion 660 quatuordecillion 636 tridecillion 856 duodecillion 403 undecillion 766 decillion 975 nonillion 289 octillion 505 septillion 440 sextillion 883 quintillion 277 quadrillion 824 trillion. This number is beyond astronomically large. I say beyond astronomically large because most numbers that we already consider to be astronomically large are mere infinitesimal fractions of this number. So, just how large is it? Let's try to wrap our puny human brains around the magnitude of this number with a fun little theoretical exercise. Start a timer that will count down the number of seconds from 52 exclamation to 0. We're going to see how much fun we can have before the timer counts down all the way. Start by picking your favorite spot on the equator. You're going to walk around the world along the equator, but take a very leisurely pace of 1 step every billion years. The equatorial circumference of the Earth is 40,075,017 meters. Make sure to pack a deck of playing cards, so you can get in a few trillion hands of solitaire between steps. After you complete your round-the-world trip, remove 1 drop of water from the Pacific Ocean. Now do the same thing again, Walk around the world at 1 billion years per step, removing 1 drop of water from the Pacific Ocean each time you circle the globe. The Pacific Ocean contains 707.6 million cubic kilometers of water. Continue until the ocean is empty. When it is, take 1 sheet of paper and place it flat on the ground. Now, fill the ocean back up and start the entire process all over again, adding a sheet of paper to the stack each time you've emptied the ocean. Do this until the stack of paper reaches from the Earth to the Sun. Take a glance at the timer, you will see that the 3 leftmost digits haven't even changed. You still have 8.06367 more seconds to go. 1 astronomical unit, the distance from the Earth to the Sun, is defined as 149,597,870.691 kilometers, so, take the stack of papers down and do it all over again. 1,000 times more. Unfortunately, that still won't do it. There are still more than 5.385 seconds remaining. You're just about a third of the way done. To pass the remaining time, start shuffling your deck of cards. Every billion years deal yourself a 5-card poker hand. Each time you get a royal flush, buy yourself a lottery ticket. A royal flush occurs in 1 out of every 649,740 hands. If that ticket wins the jackpot, throw a grain of sand into the Grand Canyon. Keep going, and when you've filled up the canyon with sand, remove 1 ounce of rock from Mount Everest. Now empty the canyon and start all over again. When you've leveled Mount Everest, look at the timer, you still have 5.364 seconds remaining. Mount Everest weighs about 357 trillion pounds, you barely made a dent. If you were to repeat this 255 times, you would still be looking at 3.024 seconds. The timer would finally reach 0 sometime during your 256th attempt. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and tell us in the comments below which of these facts blew your mind too.